It's week 3 of the Joshlin Smith trial, and in the witness box sits the woman who says she knows exactly what happened to the 6-year-old. Her name is Lourentia Lombaard. She's not just any witness. She's the one who claims Joshlin was sold by her own mother. This week, the court gave the defense their turn, and they did what they came to do. They took Lombard's story and ripped it apart, piece by piece. Before we dive in, I just wanted to send a personal thank you to new members of our channel. Thank you for subscribing. For us, a self-funded media publication, this means a lot. Also, I wanted to give personal shout out to those who commented on our Joshlin Smith weekly trial deep dives. So here we go. Janine Bartman, Maria London, Jenny Andrews, Eloise Ratz. If I pronounced your name incorrectly, my apologies, but thank you for the comments. Not only does it help create conversation around the subject of the video, but it also helps us reach new viewers. Okay, back to the breakdown. Let's start with what we know. Lombard is the state's Section 204 witness, meaning she's testifying under a deal. She helps the court find the truth, and in return, she might walk away without being charged. The 33-year-old was formally unmasked as the 4th suspect in March 2024, replacing Pumeza Sikaba, who played into the narrative around the 6-year-old being sacrificed in a Muti ritual. Lombard entered the list of accused not because authorities had compelling evidence against her, but because in early March 2024, at the height of search efforts for Joshlin, she made a confession, one that would cost the state its entire case because this week, the defense leaned heavily into the lies she told. Whatever it is she admitted to in her confession in March and later in a Section 204 statement, her story has been consistent on one big point. That on the 19th of February 2024, Kelly Smith handed her daughter Joshlin over to a stranger in a white polo in exchange for 20,000 Rand. But this week, that version started to wobble because under cross-examination, everything else began to unravel. Day 11 started with Lombard wrapping up her main testimony, and it was emotional. She admitted to the court that her original police statement, taken 2 days after her arrest, had some problems. She told investigators she watched Kelly leave the white polo after Joshlin was handed over, but under oath, she changed that. She said, open quote, "I never actually saw her get out. I just saw the car leave with her and Joshlin inside," close quote. Then came a chilling new detail. She said the woman in the polo wanted Joshlin because of her eyes and skin tone, a detail she said Kelly had shared with her after the exchange. Before stepping down for the day, she turned to the court and said, open quote, "If Joshlin is still alive, whoever has her, please return her," close quote. It was raw, but it was also just the beginning. That day also featured testimony from Kelly Smith's biological sister, Michaela Daniels, but on what she revealed will come later, because on day 12 is when the defense began to dig in, and their goal was simple: destroy Lombard's credibility. They started with her drug use. She admitted to using tick up to 3 times a day, depending on when her boyfriend gave her money. Then they moved on to a timeline. She claimed she'd witnessed a confrontation at Kelly Smith's house on Sunday, February 18th over stolen chickens, but the defense introduced a police statement from Detective Doningoma, placing that same incident a day earlier on Saturday the 17th. One of them was wrong. Then came day 13, and the pressure finally got to her. After being grilled about the time she visited Kelly's house and whether she brought her children with her in the morning or the afternoon, Lombard broke down. She'd been adamant until that moment that she had taken her children with her in the morning. But under cross-examination, she admitted it was actually the afternoon. And the judge did not let that go. For the first time since the trial began, Lourentia Lombaard cried. She sobbed. She apologized. And she said, open quote, "Please forgive me," close quote. And just like that, the court declared her medically unfit to continue for the day. Medics were called in and she was carried out of the courtroom. But the next day, she was back. Day 14 was about 2 confessions. one made in March 2024, just after her arrest, the other made in October under an immunity agreement, and they did not match. In March, she said Kelly and Jacquen walked to the polo together. In October, she said Jacquen wasn't there. In March, she said she heard Kelly talk about the 20,000 rand. In October, she admitted she didn't hear it directly. She added new details in October too, like Kelly smashing a window during a fight. In March, nothing. The judge asked her, open quote, "Why were you truthful in some part of your first confession but lied in others?" Close quote. She said, open quote, "I was afraid. I was withdrawing. I wasn't clear-headed, but I stand by what I said in October." Close quote. Still, the court now had two versions of her story, and neither one was perfect. By the end of the week, this much was clear. Lourentia Lombaard had told a story that was powerful, but under pressure, it cracked. And every time it cracked, another question formed. Was she really there when she said she was? Did she really see what she claimed to see? And is her story the truth? Or is it the story the state needed? What did Lourentia Lombaard say in March when she was fresh off drugs and behind bars? And what changed in October when she was clean, free, and working with the state? Was she confessing or cooperating? Let's start with March 2024. Lombard had just been taken into custody. She was physically depleted, disheveled, thin, shaking with withdrawal. She had lost smoke tick 2 days earlier. She was read her rights, she was filmed, and then she spoke. That version of her statement, captured on video, is what the defense brought to court this week. She said she saw Kelly and Jacquen walk toward a white polo with Joshlin. Joshlin got into the car. When Kelly came back, there was money and a conversation about splitting it. She claimed to have overheard this conversation and believed it was a child selling deal. She even said, open quote, "My wish is that they will grant me free bail so that I can go home and come to court on the next occasion from home," close quote. The implication that this wasn't a full confession, it was a bargain. Now fast forward 7 months later to October 2024. Lombard is out of custody. She's clean, calmer, noticeably healthier. She's now the state's Section 204 witness, a key player in their case. She's been granted conditional immunity, and her story, it changed. Not completely, but enough to matter. In this October statement, Lombard said Jacquen wasn't there when Kelly took Joshlin to the white polo. The polo visit happened twice, once on Sunday, once again on Monday. She didn't hear the 20,000 rand discussion. She assumed there was a transaction. The person in the polo had an interest in Joshlin's eyes and skin tone, a detail never mentioned in March. Kelly, she said, has smashed a window during an argument, also absent from the first version. So what happened in those 7 months? Why did these details change? The answer she gave, open quote, "I was afraid. I wasn't clear-headed. I didn't trust the officer taking the statement," close quote. She said her October version, not March, was the real truth, because in October, she wasn't withdrawing. She wasn't scared. She just wanted to do the right thing. But the courtroom didn't just want to hear why her stories changed. It wanted to know, which version can we trust? Because some of the contradictions weren't minor. Even though she stood by her October version, the damage from March was done, because every time she changed the story, every detail she added later raised a new question. Did she lie in March to protect someone, or did she lie in October to protect herself? Was she filling in blanks to make the state's case fit better, or had she finally come clean? Even the judge wasn't convinced, and this is the problem with being ready to tell the truth after you've already told another one. You don't get to choose which version the court believes. And now, as her testimony hangs in the air, so does the question that drives this case. If we can't trust Lourentia Lombaard, can we trust the case against Kelly Smith? So now we've heard from the star witness, the one who says Joshlin was sold. We've heard how her story changed, how it cracked under pressure, and how the court isn't quite sure which version to believe. But what about the people in the dock? Kelly Smith, Jacquen, Steveno van Rijn. Each of them submitted plea statements. Each of them gave their versions of what happened on Monday, the 19th of February 2024, the day Joshlin disappeared. And this is where the case really begins to split open. Let's start with Kelly Smith, Joshlin's mother, because no matter what anyone says, this trial revolves around her. Here's what Kelly claims. That morning, Joshlin didn't go to school because her uniform was dirty and she had no washing powder. Kelly dropped her youngest child at creche, then came back. She left again later to go to work. Around lunchtime, she returned briefly with 50 rand, smoking a bit of tick with Jacquen, and then went back to work. She says she came home around 5 p.m. and that's when she realized Joshlin was missing. That's the core of her version. Dirty uniform, a drug run, a child gone without explanation. But here's the problem. That version doesn't stand on its own, because we've heard other people's accounts of that day, and they don't all match Kelly's. Let's go back to the day before, Sunday the 18th of February. According to one witness, Paulina Chosa, Kelly was seen arguing loudly with Jacquen Apollos near a canal in Tiesville. The witness heard her shout, open quote, "Exhale your vase," close quote, which translates to in English, "I will show you." She then grabbed Joshlin and dragged her towards the shack. The witness watched as a pink flip-flop fell off the child's foot, a detail that would later take on more weight when reports surfaced about a pink flip-flop found in the case. The witness didn't know who Joshlin was at the time, but 2 days later, when her picture was all over the news, she turned to her colleague and said, open quote, "That child is not missing. Kelly Smith needs to say what happened to her," close quote. And then there's Jacquen Apollos, also known as Puta, Kelly's boyfriend at the time and also the co-accused, obviously. In his statement, Jacquen echoes some of Kelly's version. He says he was at home, that Joshlin was playing outside, and that nothing seemed out of place until Kelly came home later. But that's not what Lourentia Lombaard said. She claims that on that very day, Monday the 19th, Kelly told Jacquen, open quote, "Have Joshlin ready at 2 p.m. The people are coming to fetch her," close quote. She says Kelly even packed a bag for Joshlin, then left, and then when she came back, Joshlin was gone. Lombard says Jacquen knew, Jacquen says he didn't. Then there's Steveno van Rijn, the third accused. He gave multiple police statements, and they changed. At first, he said he saw Lombard leave with Joshlin and never return. Later, he admitted he couldn't actually see the children playing outside from where he was standing. He also told police Lombard's partner, Ayanda, might have sold Joshlin to a sangoma. A lead police followed but never confirmed. In other words, he pointed the finger elsewhere, but his version didn't hold either. Now remember that moment from earlier when Kelly told her teacher, Mart, that a Nigerian man had called her? That this man had said Joshlin was in a container on a ship to West Africa? Mart asked if she told the police. Kelly said no. She was too afraid of what the people in Saldanha might do. And then she whispered, open quote, "Buta is not guilty," close quote. So let's pause. She's on record saying someone wanted to sell her child. She knows where Joshlin is or was, and yet she didn't tell the police. Even her own sister, Michaela Daniels, said that when she asked Kelly where Joshlin was, Kelly answered, open quote, "My child is here in the informal settlement. Someone wants to sell my child, but Saldanha is a hotspot," close quote. Again, Kelly doesn't sound like a woman without information. She sounds like a woman guarding it. And then as time passed, that urgency disappeared. Witnesses say she stopped crying after one day, that she appeared calm, cold, almost untouched, that she danced on a public stage and told people, open quote, "I always wanted to be famous, but I never knew it would be because of Joshlin," close quote. So what does all this mean? Each accused person has told the court their version of February 19th. They insist they did nothing wrong, that they didn't see anything, that Joshlin was there until she wasn't. But the versions don't line up. Not with each other, not with the timeline, and certainly not with what witnesses say. The bag was packed. The pickup time was set. The child was gone. We still don't know where Joshlin is. We still don't know what really happened in that shack, or near that canal, or by that white polo. But we know this. Everyone in that courtroom is telling a version of the truth. And the court's job now is to figure out which one to believe. This brings us to the end of our weekly deep dive of the Joshlin Smith trial. We will drop the next review next week Sunday. If you tuned in this far, I highly appreciate it and thank you for listening. Drop a comment below on what you thought of the episode or anything about the trial so far, and I will give out personal shoutouts in the next episode. We are also constantly posting stories that matter to South Africans and the rest of the world on our news website. Visit swisherpost.co.za for the best explainers about every important thing happening around you. No agenda, just the story.